Hello YouTube. This video is to show how to properly assemble the Lego phone stand I have in a previous video. So if you want to know what the Lego phone stand does and how it works and stuff, look at the previous video. And in a little bit I'm going to show a page that will show all the parts that you need, well, a picture that will show all the parts that you need to build this, because I have it in basic pre-assembled sections, so you won't be assembling it from scratch. You'll basically assemble the individual sections that I'll show. Sorry if there's a little bit of noise in the background. My mom's doing something. Yeah. So we're gonna build the individual. We're gonna basically assemble the individual sections to complete this build. So, as you can see here, there are a lot of partially assembled parts. I'm gonna try to go over each individual one. I'm gonna leave right now. I'll make it so it's exactly at a minute. You're gonna want to pause and look at the parts, so you can do that now. Alright, hello again. Now we're resuming. You should have just seen all the parts necessary to make this. Once you have all them out, we're going to make these I'm basically going to go over each pre-assembled section, give more detailed pictures if necessary, and then you can build them. And then, once you have them, it will be quick and easy to assemble this. Alright, so let's do this. So first of all, there are two mirrored sections that are of the base, pretty much mirrored. So basically you're going to want to make this 2 times. So I'll show a side view here. So you might want to pause here. I'll show another view here. And then if you see here, there is a black pin through here, so this is capable of swiveling, and it looks like this. And then there are 2 of this part. You're actually going to need 4 total, but you're going to have this type of part here, through these, and then through this. So you're going to have 2 of these. They're going to be mirrored sections of each other again, so it will look like this. This one, the only difference is that this one here has a beam that's 15 units long on it, and this one doesn't. That will be necessary for it to be off for assembly for this one, so realize that this will be used in the assembly. So it looks like this. These pieces here, there are 2 of them on each one. It is this type of piece here. These things are awesome. So you have those. Here's another view of this. This here is one of these inserted all the way through like this, and then a 7-length beam is installed there. These, each one of these is an 8-length beam with an end stop. These are normal pins. These are 3-thing long pins. These are the special pins with an axle at the end. These are the special ones that are 2 axle lengths and a pin. This is a 3-length one here, and it just has a standard normal pin at the end there. And then it's the same on the other side, but mirrored. So for reference, it'll be easier if you look at it like, probably easier if you look at it like this. They'll be essentially going together just like that, with about that much spacing right there. And then this goes on here. This is just 2 of these pieces here at a right angle to each other with an axle, not really an axle, a connector connecting them like that. And then they're installed on the back of this piece here, right like that, and then lean forward like that, so that they're, this is going to be where the main shaft that holds everything together and swivels forward and backwards goes through in both of these. And again, it will look like this. Alright, you hopefully paused multiple times and finished doing that section. I'd suggest watching this entire video first, just all the way through, and then trying to actually do individual sections and pausing at each individual part. Alright, so that was the base. Next, we're going to do the assembly with the turntable. So this is again the turntable. Notice that the turntable gears are always, it's a specific type. There are 2 types of turntables. You'll need the one that has gears in the center, teeth in the center. So this one, the black will, the black section of it, will be black for all the turntable gears, will look like this. You'll have these, 4 of these on the front here, just like this, with the blue connectors attaching them onto here. And on the back will either be light gray or dark gray, depending on which one you have. It'll look like this. You'll want to make 2 of these, like that, and assemble it so that the blue, it doesn't really matter which part's on which, but I like to have the blue part on the inside here. So you have on the bottom side here, just like this. Alright, once you've made that part, let's go into the next part of the turntable. Here again we have mirrored things, so you're going to want 2 of these, and they're mirrored sections of each other. When I say mirrored, I mean like it's the same thing, but opposite. So the only difference between these is actually this piece here, so I'm just going to take that off for now. So you want 2 of this exact piece here. So for this, you have 1 of these pieces here. These things are awesome because they have a really tight grip strength on the actual like pin itself. On here, you have a blue pin going from here to here to here, and then all the other ones are black pins on there. So it looks like this, and you have 2 of this exact thing. If I flip them the same way, you have 2 of this. The front view is really what matters, kind of. But then you also have the side view, and you have the back view. And then you need 2 of these. Alright, next we'll go over, this is probably the most, maybe the second or third, maybe even the first most complex part I'm going to show you. This is the assembly that tilts forward and backwards to lock and unlock the worm gear of the turntable, to allow the turntable to rotate quickly or slowly. So for this, I'm going to take off a few parts so it's easier to see what's going on. This is, again, this is a relatively complex part. You'll want to take note of the placement of bushings, of half bushings. You have a 10 length axle here. It's 10 Lego units long. Each side of this has 3 half bushings. There's a half bushing on either side of the worm gear, which is centered in there. You'll note that there's a very small amount of slip back and forth because of how Lego designed worm gears. They're actually slightly shorter than 2 bricks. I don't know why, but ever so slightly shorter than 2 bricks, so we'll be able to slip back and forth a little bit unless you push down on one of these half bushings, making the spacing there, and then it will not move forward and backward, or up and down at all. Then the rest of this, I'll give you a few different views so you can build it easily. Again, you're going to want to play and pause on each view so you know what's going on. I'm going to take this piece off here. You can see this. Right there, you have the same as this, but flip the opposite direction and going through one of these here. This should be pointing upwards. Then you have this with a black pin on it that just goes on here on both sides like this. Through here, if you look through here, this is going all the way from this point here to this point here. You have a 9 unit long light gray axle. In the middle of it is a bushing, and then on either edge, here and here, are the same type of piece as this, with the axle hole keeping them oriented so they're straightforward like this. And then this, so I'm going to take this off. So for this, you can see it's a 4-length axle with an end stop, and then you have the 2 of these pieces here just butted up against each other, and then this goes through. You can see that you have the T shaped thingy here, right there. You put the 3-length beam on there, and then this goes through straight into this piece here with the axle. Now that part's done. Then you have a 7-length beam, and it goes on these 3 pinholes there, there, and there. So this can slip a little bit if you do it the wrong direction, which is this way, but then you just push it back down and it gets on again. So that's only if you do it the wrong way. The only way that you'll really be using this for function is pulling backwards like this, and then it will have the shock will go in here and push it forward. So that's that part. The next part will be one of the 3 most complex parts I'm going to show you. This is the actual thing that holds onto the phone. At least this is the most of it. So if you look closely, you can see. I'll take off the sides to reveal a little more detail. So this one, it's a 7 length, and it has 1, 2, and 3. Just like this. Then you have these on either end here. I'm going to show. So then you have this here. This is 2 4-length axles with end stops, and then 2 rubber grips. These rubber grips are really, really important for actually making it so it grips onto your phone well. You can also use just single plastic pieces instead, like the 2-length plastic pieces, but they don't work nearly as well. And then you have this piece here that it goes through, and then one of these on the back of each one to hold it on. Then this goes through the bottom slot here, like that. And this goes on like this. And you'll see that I have these in the middle slot of this frame. So the frame, this piece here, is really what's doing, is what's holding everything together. Then down here, you'll see I have this type of piece here. Also, there's an axle going from here to here that's 5 long. Also, let me make that symmetrical here. So you can see there's an axle that's 5 long going all the way through in this direction. And then you have this piece here with a blue connector there. On the back, you have 2 of this, which is a 3-thing long friction pin and a single 1-thing length beam facing outwards like this. And then it has the little ball joints that are really good for holding onto the rubber band, and the rubber band will, when it's installed, go on the 2 of them like this. So you can see right here that it will go between the 2 of them symmetrically like that when you assemble it. Alright, so that's that piece. Next, these here are just bushings. Next, you'll want to make sure that you have this type of rubber band. You can use any rubber band really, but the Lego standard white silicone band works really well. I think they call it a 2x2 or something like that, based on its size, but this works really well. It has the correct amount of force to hold onto any phone and not be too tight or too loose. So these work well, and they're really cheap. But any rubber band works. If you have a different rubber band, you can wrap it around here if it's too long. You can wrap it between these 2. If it's too short, you're screwed. But if it's too long, you might be able to get off okay with that. The next thing I'm going to show is these. These are the flaps that you push down on to actuate the basically the lifting and lowering of the phone gripping section. So there are 2 of this. I'm going to take this off completely. There are 2 of these here. So this has this piece here has 2 of these on this front side. It has 2 of the red connectors and 1 of the blue connectors there. I mean, the blue connectors also come in white and the red ones also come in black, but they usually come in these colors. Then it has 1 of these pieces here. Then you install the black pin there. It just kind of fell off, but this is how it would look. You install a black pin there. This goes from this direction. You'll see that I have 1 of these there. It looks like this. So I'll hold it like this, like that. Want to make sure you're going in the correct direction. So this goes downwards like that, and then you grab the remaining one of these on each one of these, and then put it on like this. So you'll have 2 of this exact thing, just like that. So now you have 1 of these, and you should have 2 of them. So you want to make sure that you make 2 of this piece. I should have said that at the beginning, but I didn't. I am sorry. Alright, so you see that you have 2 of them. They're exactly the same, but they'll be facing the opposite direction for symmetry purposes. Alright, next piece is this. This is the thing that gets pivoted downwards or spun to actuate the main axis. As you can see here, it is just a standard one of these axles, an 8-thing long axle with an end stop. It has a gear in the back, then the end stop is behind the gear, has the gear, goes through one of these things, then you have the worm gear, then you have 6 half bushings. Half bushings have the most grip. They have more grip than a single bush. 2 half bushings have way more grip than 1 single bushing, so I go with half bushings rather than single bushings. Then you have this this thing here, a 4-length axle, and then 3 of these. And then this goes onto the end here, just like that. So you have this piece here. Next, you have this. This is the thing that moves up and down for the gripping of the phone. This is actually the back of it, so this is what the front looks like. This is pretty simple. You want to make sure that this goes on correctly, so it should be pretty easy to build from the pictures. You'll see the end stops are on top. Make sure that the end stops are on the top. Otherwise it won't work at all. That'd be awkward for you to build it the wrong way and just have it not work. So this should be plenty to build it just from this angle. Make sure that everything's facing the same direction as it is on here. And then holding these two, they're basically two halves, and then holding them together is a 5-length axle that just goes up through the center like that and holds them together. Next is the part that holds the shocks at the bottom. This is a 5-length axle here, one of the gray ones that are 5 long. You can see I have 2 shocks here. They are the medium or light gray shocks, and I've basically taken apart the shocks and put a half bushing on each one. That makes it have the correct amount of force to work better, and it's the same with this shock here. You'll have to have 3 shocks. It's the same with this shock here. You should put a half bushing on the top of each of these shocks. So to do that, you basically have to push the little tab there and there in at the same time and pull out on the sections. Then you have to slide the spring off, put a half bushing on, and then put the spring back on and slide the entire thing back together. And that will allow you to do that. But here's this. Has a bushing there, then the shock here and here. Make sure the shocks are facing the same way. Doesn't really matter, but it looks better, I think. Then you have these on either end, and the shocks can just slide off, but you have these on either end, and they should be facing the same way, just like this. And then I showed you this, just a plain shock. Next, the next thing, you're going to want to make 2 of this, like 2 of this exact thing here, which is just this type of piece here with a blue pin, then a black pin in between them, connecting them together like this. Make 2 of them. Easy. You might still have to pause because I'm going kind of fast, but it should be pretty easy to make. If you can't make that, you're probably not going to be able to make a lot of the other stuff I've shown. Then along the same lines, there's one that's just 2 of this piece here connected with a black pin in the center. It's pretty simple. You just need 1 of these. It doesn't have anything on the top or the bottom, but this is what it looks like. Next, this piece here, when the thing is fully assembled, the rubber band that grips onto the phone will actually go around this half bushing like this and be facing straight down. So it will actually look like this in the full assembly. You'll want to make sure that you take note of where that rubber band is so you get yours in the correct place. So it should wrap around. There's a little ridge in there for it to go around. So you'll want to make sure it's like this. And when you're assembling it, you're going to put the rubber, I'll go over this again, I'm sure, but you're going to put the rubber band on like this and pull this down to keep it out of the way. Basically like that when you're assembling it. So it will look like this when you assemble it. And it's just a half bushing, a 4-length axle with an end stop, one of these pieces, a half bushing, and then eventually the rubber band. Next, you're going to want this, which is just 2 of the rubber pieces with a 4-length axle with an end stop going straight through it, connecting them. Next, you want 2 of this. This is just a basically a knob to twist to adjust the roll, basically the side-to-side angle of the phone, and they'll look like this. But this is a 5-length axle, 3 gears like this. Whoops, 3 of this type of gear here. You can use any gear you want, but I think this is the best size after using it quite a bit. It has 2 half bushings. A single bushing works too. I just like the look of half bushings a little bit more because they're a little more consistent. And then 1 of these at the end for each one. So you should have 2 identical ones of these. Alright, next, the rest of what we have is just loose parts. So I'm going to show you what loose parts are remaining that are going to be used for all the assembly steps. So you have 2 of these. These are half-width, 5-length thingies. You should have 4 axles that are 3 units long. You should have 2 axles that are 3 things long with a knob or end stop. It doesn't matter if it's a knob or an end stop. I think the knob looks better for this, the knob being this little thing right here. But just make sure they're 3 units long, not 4. So 3, and then with a knob or an end stop. The ones with the end stops are like brown. They really don't match the rest of the theme. The colors on this don't matter at all. I just like how it looks with these colors, so that's what I went with. Next, you're going to need, let's see, 6 extra 4-thing long axles with an end stop. So these are length of 4 and have an end stop. Next, you'll need 3 8 long with end stops. That's 3. You'll need an extra 4 half bushings, an extra single bushing, which is just a normal full-length bushing. You'll need a 24-tooth gear like this, and you should have all these parts already if you looked at the parts list that I included at the beginning of the video. You have 4 extra of these 3-thing long beams, and then last but not least, you have your 11 length beam. Alright, now we're going to assemble everything. I'm going to start the assembly with the phone holder part. So I'm going to set out all the parts that you need, so you have a little bit of time to actually gather them up, and then we will go through the assembly process. So I'll show you all the parts in just a second. I'm getting that for myself, so I can actually see what parts I've gotten out. And I think that's it. Alright, so you're going to need this here, the main thing that holds everything together. Oh, yes. And these. You'll need these. You should have 2. They're exactly the same. You'll need this thing, which slides up and down. You'll need your 2 loose 5-unit long half width beams. You'll need this thing. You'll need this thing with the rubber pieces and the axle, and you'll need your rubber band. Again, Lego silicone band works best. I mean, I'm sure you can find a better rubber band out there, but this works really well, so that's what I use. So to assemble, first, you're going to want to put this through these holes here, just like this. So you want the blue axle to be facing the same way as the other ones, just like this, or the blue connector. So that the front face here should be flat. There should be nothing on this entire plane except for these, which is where the phone will go against. It will rest against this, like that. Next, we're going to flip this around like that. You're going to want to take these here, grab one of them, put it so the top part is on there, like that. Next, grab this, insert it all the way through like this, through that side. This will be able to swivel, but keep it so that it's flat like this. Put this other one of those on there. This part's kind of delicate. You have to hold this while doing stuff. So you have to put that. It's easy if you put it upright and put the rubber band on like this. Make sure the rubber band is facing downwards when you assemble it. So the rubber band, I'm gripping onto the rubber band from the bottom. I'm going to insert the rubber band in this hole here, just like that, and then go all the way in forward. It will go through the rubber pieces and attached to here and here. So I just finished doing that, and then this should be flat here in the back. Right there, that should be flat, and you should have a rubber band sticking out the bottom. Grab the middle of the rubber band so that it's evenly tensioned, and wrap it around both sides of these things, just like this. This should now snap back really well like that, and it should look like this. Alright, now that that's done, you want to take these things. This step's really important. This can pop in and out right now, but you're going to actually pop it into the correct slot. So when we actually do this, you're going to pop this thing into the second slot up, right there. Not the first one, not this one. Don't do that one. Do the second one so it will work correctly. So insert the tan thing into this hole here, and then push that into the second slot. So you can see it looks just like this, and now when you push down on this, it lifts it up really nicely. Do the same on the other side. Grab this, stick it through that hole. You might have to maneuver this a little bit. You'll have to pull it back so it gets out of the way. Move these around and then push it in when it's at the correct place. So you see there's a free one here and here. That is how it should be. And then this moves freely up and down like that. Now you have a fully assembled phone gripping section. Now this section's done. Just set it aside. At the end, we're going to have 3 sections and then 3 extra components to connect the sections to each other. So set this aside, and we'll go on to the next part. Next, we're going to go into the turntable assembly. So when we assemble this, these 4 pins there, 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 and there are going to go into these holes there, 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 and there. Just like that, you're just going to push them in all the way, like this. It'll be really easy, and it holds pretty tightly. But we're not doing that quite yet. So, for the purposes of this, this is the top, and this is the bottom. These should be on the bottom. So first, first we're going to grab the parts we need for this, which is going to be the turntable assembly right here. It's going to be your 2 of these things here. It's going to be these 2 loose parts here and here. Same thing. We're also going to need an 8 long with an end stop and a bushing for that. We're going to need 2 sets of basically 2 4-thing long pins with 2 half bushings. So far 3 half bushings, 2 4-length axles with end stops, and an 8-length axle with an end stop. We're also going to need this complex piece here. We're going to need to grab this. This will be the top part of it. We're going to want that 1 free shock absorber that you have right here. We're also going to grab the 2 side knob sections here and here. And that is it for what we need for this section. I'm going to aim down a little bit. Or not. Alrighty. So, we're going to take this, with this on the bottom. Not yet. We're going to take these. So you should have 2 of them, just like this. You can put them side by side like this. Take these things here. Stick it so that this goes straight on to here, like that, on each of these, mirrored of each other. So like this and like this. So you should have these. You should have 2 of these that are opposite sections of each other. Make it so that the black part of here is above this gray part here. Hold this so that this is on the bottom. Go in from the side like this and stick this hole into the connector. And then do the same with the other one, where the gray part should be on the bottom, below the black part. Stick this into the connector like that. That's done. These can still kind of move up and down a little bit. They're not fully finished. Next is assembling this thing. So you want to have it so that the worm gear is in front. So it's going to sorry, this is the bottom, this is the top. No. Yeah, sorry. So I kind of messed that up when I was showing you. So now we're switching with the top and the bottom. So now this is actually the top and this is the bottom because I messed that up earlier. So now you take this thing here. This is going to look like yeah, this is going to look like this. Now wait a second. There we go. No, I was wrong. I showed you the wrong assembly step, and I apologize already. So we're assembling this a little bit. I did it wrong. Sorry. Take these things off. Make it so the gray part is above the black part. Then assemble it like this, and do the same with the other side here. So it should look like this, actually. So you're gonna have to go back a step or two and make it so it looks like this. Then what happens is this will go here. It will eventually attach to here, and it will pivot back and forth like this with the help of a shock. So we're gonna attach that now. So now that you have this attached like this, you're gonna grab this piece here, put that on there, just kind of lay it on there. And then grab an 8-length axle, make the end stop, it doesn't matter which side it's on, but I like to have it on this side for everything. You're going to stick it through here, and then you can see I don't want to go all the way through here, I want to go just to the edge right there, and then I want to grab, I forgot to say it at the beginning, but you want to grab this bushing here. You want to basically get the bushing on, in between these 2 parts on the axle. So it's kind of hard to do every time, but basically, see how I just got the bushing in there, and then you push this the rest of the way through. It will hold everything together. This can now pivot back and forth, and then just keep everything on. Put a half bushing on this extra section of axle right there, so you can move this forward and backwards, kind of up and down like this. It'll go forward and backwards like that. The worm gear here, should be making contact with the turntable, so you can't turn the turntable, but then you move it backwards and the turntable rotates freely. So essentially we're going to be doing that, but we're going to have it so a shock keeps it so this is always forward. Next, we're going to put that shock absorber on. So grab your shock absorber. You'll note that these sections are black and then these are gray. This is black and this is gray. I like to have it aligned so it kind of, I think it looks nice when you have color to color like that. So first, grab the black section here and put it in between these here like this. Stick an axle, a 4-length axle, all the way through here like this. So it's holding this on, and then put a half bushing on there to keep the axle in place. Just like this. So now this is assembled like this, and you're going to basically do the top section the same way. So now this, you can push that down and it will stay in place right there. You want to stick this axle through here, and then put a half bushing on there. Oops. Alright, now this entire section stays in the forward position, so you can pull back on this this massive thing here is basically just for leverage, so you can pull back on that. And then you want to install the two side pieces, so they just go on there and on there. So now you can twist this to rotate the turntable gear, or you can pull back on this to disengage that worm gear completely and just rotate it freely. It goes infinitely around, and it's very easy to adjust quickly, and then you can do it very accurately with this, very slowly and accurately with this. Alright, this is the turntable section. This goes between the actual phone holder and the base. You can set this aside. This is now completed. Congratulations. Next, just so we have a nice completed look when we finish assembling the base, we're going to set aside 3 parts. We're going to set aside the 24-tooth gear with our other completed stuff, an 8-length axle with an end stop, and a single half bushing. We're going to set those aside. Those will be used to assemble the turntable to the base. All the remaining parts that you have are now going to be needed to assemble the base. So you should have the 2 half sections of the base, here and here. One of them, the one on this side, shouldn't have anything here. We have that piece here. We'll assemble that during the assembly. Then you should have a whole bunch of these. You should have 4 of the 4-length axles with an end stop. You should have one of them that is 8 with an end stop. You should have the 2 3-lengths with either a knob or an end stop, the knob again being better, in my opinion. Just more because of coloration. You should have 4 3-length normal axles. You should have 4 3-length beams. You should have your 2 of these things. You should have your 1 of this. You should have your 11-length beam here. You should have your shock assembly here, and you should have your rotation thingy here. Alright, we're going to start assembling all these sections now. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to assemble, so just watch carefully. First, let's take this section here, and a 3-length beam. Put the 3-length beam on here like this, so that this aligns really nicely like that. Grab 2 of the 4-length axles and stick one of them in each of those 2 holes to hold this in place like that. So it should look like this, and these should just be kind of sticking out. Grab another 3-length beam. I think I said axle before. Grab another 3-length beam, put it on like this, so that they're staggered, and of course I tilted it upside down. So they're staggered like this, and then grab this thingy here. This will go on these axles here, just like that. So this will hold it in place. Alright, next we're going to grab the other side and kind of do the same thing, where we're going to grab our 3-length beam and put it on there. We're going to grab our 2 axles and put them in here and here. Holding that in place, we're going to put our thing on there. We're going to just keep it like this. So don't tilt it sideways because stuff will fall off if you tilt it to either side, and just set that aside. There, and take this one again. Now for this, take one of these and insert it into the center two holes here and here, just like that. Take two of these axles and insert them into each of these slots here and here, and then do the same for this here. Insert one of them into each of those, so it will now look like this. On this section here, making sure you hold all this stuff in place so it doesn't fall down, grab your other one of these. Never mind, don't do that. Yeah, so we haven't assembled that part yet. Sorry, my bad. Alrighty. Next, take your 11 length and the main part of the bottom section. Assemble this, so it should look like this. You're just going to want to put it on like that. Should be even with the sides there. Should look just like this. So it will be almost touching there, and it will be the back of this one will be even with the front of this one. Next, you're going to grab your other one of these and put it on right there, so it's across from that one. Looks good. Alrighty. Next, we're going to grab our two sections and actually assemble them. So right now we're going to be assembling, basically we're going to be sticking 4 axles together. We're going to be sticking these 2 axles into these holes, and then these 2 axles into these holes. So it'll look like this. So this one, you'll have to rotate stuff to get it to line up correctly, but it will look like this, and then this. That's what the base should look like. You have a bunch of pins there. As you can see, it's quite strong once it's assembled, and a bunch of already assembled pins onto this beam here. So everything is assembled now on that part. Next, we're going to grab this. This is the shock assembly. We're going to put the back ends of the shocks into here and here, into those little areas there. Grab your 8 length axle, and there's a little hole right here. You just want to stick it all the way through that hole, and it will go all the way from here to this side here. You can see it right there, not quite peeking out, just flush with the end. Now you can go ahead and put this on here. So you put it on the front of this and just slide it on, and then the front like this. Slide it on, and then push all of the pins in like this, and now you have a nice strong base section. So that part's now completed. Next, you want to move this around so that these things are facing straight up, and then this is down. So I'm basically going to hide this around in there, and then you can see these are facing straight up. If you look from the side, you'll see the plus-shaped profiles right there of them. You want to stick these partially in there, just enough to keep them in place on each side. So these are the 3 length with either the knob or the end stop. So I'm sticking it just enough to keep those in place so they don't move around at all, just like that. So now if I push back on the shock assembly, you'll see this thing will rotate a little tiny bit. Then you want to grab your last free part, which is this. We're basically going to be putting this in between there and there, and then pushing these in to hold it in place. So do that now. I'll try to demonstrate as clearly as I can. You want to put this down in place there, and then you push in on this, and you push in on the other one, and now this is lodged between them. Now if I push down on this here, the shocks will move back, like that, and you can still rotate this freely, which rotates the worm gear. Alright, that section is now completed. The base section is now completed. Alright, now grab all your parts. We're on home stretch now, so you have your base section, you have your 24 tooth gear, your half bushing, and your 8 length axle with an end stop. You have your turntable section, and you have your phone holder section. Now to assemble these, first take your base here. You want to line up the plus-shaped axle holes here with the circle-shaped beam holes here, basically like this. You want to do it at a bit of an angle. Do it at about somewhere between 10 and 45 degree angle. So right here pretty much works. And take your axle and stick it all the way in, not all the way through, but just basically a little bit less than that, so just through this one and nothing else. And then you take your gear, you want to stick the axle the rest of the way through, including the center of the gear, through the plus shape of the gear. To do this, you might actually have to push down on this to get it out of the way while you're doing it. Then you can just push all the way through with that axle, and it will go all the rest of the way through. You grab your half bushing and put it on the end here. Now, when you push down on this, it will disengage the worm gear and allow you to move this freely. Or when you rotate this, it will move it very finely and easily. Next, you take this, your phone holder section, and as I said before in the video, you just want to align these four things here and here, and as you can see, it's a lot harder to align it now. You slap that on, and voila, completed. So you now have a fully completed Lego phone stand. Again, this is my design, and I have another video that shows how to operate it and do stuff like that. If you like this video, please hit like, or you can subscribe. I might have other videos pertaining to this thing. If you do build one of these, please send a picture to the email shown below of this, because I'd be interested to see how yours turns out. I had somebody from the country Turkey send me a picture of one that he completed. From a previous video I had, I sent him a file, and it was cool, because different color schemes, different ways that people get around certain parts they don't have, and stuff like that. So it's cool to see. So please send me a picture. If you complete building one of these, comment, do something like that, and thanks for watching. Please look at my other videos and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.